Hello, and welcome to Unpacking with Cargo Bay. On this episode, I'm going to discuss the roles of the first officer, i.e., the co pilot or the co captain. All right, so first of all, welcome from Winnipeg, Canada, eh? I have a 60-hour layover here as well. That's 2.5 days. So I am ready to hit these streets and explore, see what the city has to offer. All right, so let's roll right into it. A common misconception that I get or that I hear all the time is that the first officer is a less qualified version of the captain, or sort of like an apprentice, or they're on the job training, kind of like a student. And the fact of the matter is, that's not true. The first officer is a highly trained professional pilot, just like the captain. The difference between a captain and first officer, first of all, physically, the uniform. A captain has 4 stripes on their shoulder boards. First officer has 3. Easily identifiable, right? Captain sits in the left seat. Your first officer sits in the right seat. And that's standard in the US. So easily identifiable, first by the uniform, and then if you're just looking up inside the flight deck, who's sitting on the left-hand side? Captain, and then FO sitting on the right-hand side. So easy, right? So on each flight, we alternate legs. The first officer, as I mentioned before, is equally, a highly trained pilot. They're not students. We're not students. We're not in training. We're capable to safely and efficiently operate that aircraft, just like the captain. All right. So on each flight, we have a pilot flying, that's the PF, and we have a pilot monitoring, that's the PM. Now the pilot flying does exactly that. They're flying the aircraft, and the pilot monitoring will be doing everything else except actually physically manipulating the aircraft, because that's what the PF is doing. So the pilot monitoring will talk on the radios, will do checklists, and just do all the other little duties and tasks that doesn't directly involve manipulating the controls. All right. So on my trip up here, for example, the first leg was from Louisville to Fargo, and then the second leg was from Fargo to Winnipeg. Now on the first leg, captain was the pilot flying, I was the PM. And then on our second leg from Fargo to Winnipeg, I was the pilot flying and the captain was the PM. So we alternate our legs. We both fly the aircraft safely, efficiently. And let's talk about emergencies. If there's an emergency, usually the captain's brief, whoever is flying the aircraft, i.e. the PF, will continue flying the aircraft. Now, when it comes to probably the single most practiced emergency that every pilot does is we practice an engine failure on takeoff or shortly after takeoff. But at that point, there's no time to switch controls, transfer the controls, say, hey, captain, you got it, I'm scared. No, you're flying the aircraft. You lose an engine failure on takeoff or after takeoff, you have to continue flying the aircraft. And usually you get up to altitude, and then it's a team effort to go through the checklist and figure out what the problem is and come up with a plan of action. Now, typically the captain will take the landing, will execute the landing during an emergency situation, because the captain has the ultimate responsibility for mission failure or mission success. So if anything goes wrong, the captain is going to be the first one to be blamed. So usually they'll take the landing. But for all other emergencies in flight, something that's not as urgent as losing an engine or an engine fire where you have to take kind of like immediate action, for the most part, flying the airplane is the easy part. We're all pilots. We all have thousands of hours. We're all, seasoned professionals in our career. So flying the aircraft is easy. Now, running through the checklist and trying to find the problem, isolate the problem, and then coordinating like your plan of action, that can get a little bit more complex. So with all that being said, next time you see a first officer, just know that they are a trained professional. They're not, don't ask them, oh, when are you going to get to fly the real plane? Or once you're a captain, you'll be a real pilot, right? Because it's not true. You know, we're all real pilots now. All right. So thank you for watching this episode, and I'll see you guys later.